Hello and welcome to the next lecture of the course about creating reality through public relations techniques. Those techniques were used through centuries to alter people's mindsets and belief systems so that whole realities and societies were created the way that we know them today. And in this lecture, we are going to discuss verbal and written communication because this is pretty much the instruments that we are using in order to cognitively communicate with each other. Verbal communication as well as written communication. And as we're doing this through the whole course, in this lecture is going to be the same. I'm going to look beyond the written and the verbal communication. So writing and verbal speech is just one aspect of the communication. This is the instrument that we're using in order to transfer meaning and knowledge and information through each other. But communication is actually happening on much deeper level. The communication is beyond the written and the verbal communication that we can directly experience. So this is how we're going to look at that. We're going to look at that through this aspect. So every time that you somehow experience another person, another human being, the communication is already starting before you even communicate verbally. So let's say the verbal communication is the meaning that we're putting to the words, and this meaning is transcribed into certain sounds. Because we have this speech element of our human biology, right? And we also have brain that is capable of comprehending this kind of speech that we're doing between each other. So basically what we're doing cognitively is we're putting the meaning of what is around us and what we are feeling and what we want to express. We're putting it into sounds. And this is the way that we're communicating between each other verbally. And with writing, it's the same. So depending on the language, we can either put every sound into certain words. And there are languages, of course, that use hieroglyphs. So it's a meaning of a whole concept, of a whole word that is put within one picture. So this is basically the concept of the verbal and the written communication. And this is how we communicate. This is how we transfer the meaning of the words. However, if you want to actually influence people and gain trust and create this co-creating experience with other people and with the society and with the world around you, you need to look at this communication beyond the meaning of the words, beyond the meaning of that sound. So what matters basically is your voice, the tonality of your voice, but not only, also the mimics. Let's say you communicate verbally with somebody and you communicate certain feeling, or you communicate something with certain meaning, you communicate a concept. Do you express energetically through mimics, through body language, what you actually truly mean? And a lot of people are using body language in a way that, okay, we know now that our body is showing things about us, about the way we feel, about if we're lying or not. You can figure out if the other person is lying to you through certain aspects of the body language. And we want to intentionally express ourselves through body language now. But the thing with body language is that as much as you're trying to control it, as much as you're trying to keep your hands certain way, let's say open hands means you're open, position your body certain way, unless if it actually comes naturally, it's not going to have the same effect. It's also with the tonality of the voice, unless if you attach the actual true meaning that is in your head and in your soul about what you're talking about, it's not going to have the same experience to the other person. It's not going to have the same effect. So verbal communication, including all aspects that you can include, depending on if you're seeing the person face to face or if it is just voice communication through the phone or whatever the situation is, what is the strongest aspect of that communication is the communication beyond the verbal sound meaning of the words that you're saying. It is what you express through those words. Okay? So this is a very important aspect of the verbal communication, because very often the person actually picks up on the tonality and your energy much more than on the words that you're actually saying. So if you want to create trust between you and the other person, if you want to have this kind of healthy cooperation and co-create the reality with that other person, what you need to do is to mind this aspect of the verbal communication, and not in a way that you have to manage your body in order to express certain things through your body and through your facial expressions, because what people actually pick up on, and sometimes it is not even consciously, sometimes it's subconsciously, what they pick up on is the expressions that you don't really manage, that you can't manage. The part of the expressions and the part of what you're showing on the outside that truly shows what's on the inside. That's what people pick up on. You can, let's say, keep your hands open, because you have heard that open hands like this means that you're showing openness, and then you can try to get your tonality of your voice in certain way with expression of more openness, let's say. You can try keep up a smile, but as I talked in the previous lectures, if you haven't actually worked on yourself, if you haven't experienced, and if you haven't understood your core essence, who you are internally, and if you haven't worked on expressing that in a true authentic way, then people will not really experience this openness. You can simulate the perfect body language, and people will still not experience you in the way that you want them to experience you. So verbal communication, when you speak, there's a lot of instruments that are in addition to the meaning of the actual words that you say out loud. There's additional instruments that you're using in order to communicate and in order to express meaning. And it is the tonality of your voice, it is the body language, the facial expression, and everything, all of those things, but it's also your actual energy. What you're saying, what you're communicating to the world, is this in a resonance with your true essence? So ask yourself this question, because a lot of times there is big contrast. You want people to experience you in a certain way, and this is the PR part that we have actually learned, that I have studied. You want people to experience you in a certain way. Basically, most people, when they start thinking about communication, they're thinking about how do I want the other person to experience me? What do I want the other person to think about me? What do I want to show? And you're not thinking if that's a reality, if that's the truth about you. And that becomes a problem when the mismatch, when the contrast is too big. And actually, this is why a lot of people create problems that are not only about their image or reputation, but they go beyond that. They create distrust, like people cannot trust them. So now, before you communicate anything, ask yourself about what do you actually want to communicate, and then leave it to people to understand you or misunderstand you. Leave it to people to think whatever they need to think about you. But the chances are that if you were authentic in the first place, they would most likely think what you wanted them, like what you truly wanted to represent. So the question should be what you want to express, what you want to represent. Are you telling your truth? That should be the first question. And then what anybody else actually thinks about you. And then when you do that, you will have bigger chance for the right people to accept you and to receive you and to experience you in the best possible way that is going to work for you and for the other person. Now, I would like to ask you something. Let's say you want to express something, you want to communicate something to this other person, and that something is not true, it is not aligned with who you truly are. Let me ask you this question, and it's going to be very uncomfortable. Why do you want to communicate this if it is not true? Can you answer this? Why do you want to communicate something that is not true in the first place? Well, the possibility, and I believe that you're not this kind of person, especially if you're watching my channel, because I am very clear about who my channel is for. The chances are, if somebody is communicating something that is not actually true, they either want to manipulate somebody by making them think that something is true when it's not, and that manipulation is usually with a purpose, with something that you want to achieve, rather than something that you truly believe in. So it is not communication with good intention. Or possibly this person actually doesn't fully understand the truth about themselves and their true values. Because I spoke about that in previous lectures, that it is very important to develop your values in a true way, because if you don't express those values in practice, in action, then most likely you don't truly possess those values. So it is very likely that this person doesn't truly possess the values that they claim. And then the other person that, let's say you're trying to communicate that, the other person will feel that. The other person will experience that. Something that you don't even know about yourself, there are people that will pick it up about you, and they will know it and they will understand it. There is this mismatch when you communicate something and the other person doesn't fully receive it, and let's say you're not the person that wants to manipulate with bad intentions, you're the other kind of person that possibly wants to work on your values, then you need to actually look into your values. You need to look into what you're actually saying and what you try to express and communicate. Is it actually true? And I'm going to give you an example from a business perspective, because this is still a career-oriented channel, a business-oriented channel. It may work, the same things that I'm saying may apply for personal relationships, but this channel is originally for business. So I'm going to give you an example within business environment, okay? So let's say your job is to sell a product. Let's say that there's this product that you have to sell, and you're trying to convince somebody to buy this product, but you yourself don't believe in the good qualities of that product. Now, you can say anything, you can do the perfect body language, expressions and facial expressions. You can do the correct lines that you're told and everything else. But let's say this other person, especially if they're a little more experienced, let's say they still don't buy this product and they still don't fully believe you. Well, where is the problem here? The problem is that you yourself possibly don't fully believe in the product that you're selling, or in the service that you're trying to offer. And that may be about your own business, or that can be about somebody that you work for, if you work for a company. It could apply both ways, because the fact that you are creating some product and you want to convince yourself that it's a good product doesn't necessarily mean that it is so, doesn't necessarily mean that you fully believe that. Let's say you create a product that you want to sell, but that product also is helpful for people. So of course you want to create a business, but in addition to this, you also want to help people. You also believe that this product is something valuable for people, and you want to communicate that, but there is something in you that don't fully believe in the value of your product. And now you're overly focused on the money part, on making money. Do you think that when you communicate verbally to the clients, do you think that you will not express that? Maybe you will not express it consciously. Maybe you will try to pretty much perform. You're going to do a performance basically in order to sell this product, but the chances are that experienced person, and very often not even experienced person, but a person with higher intuition, they're going to pick on the mismatch of this energy. And they're going to understand that you yourself don't believe in the product or the service that you're trying to sell. And this is happening a lot. This is happening more often than you can imagine. So in any situation that there's mismatch between your true authentic core essence and what you're trying to sell or what you're trying to communicate to another person or to the world, people will most likely pick on it. They will pick up on that mismatch and on that contrast. So what I'm saying is that it is very important when you speak, when you communicate, to align yourself with your own truth. And this is what I'm going to teach in this particular course. It is not going to be just a course on how to create your image and how to polish your personal branding. It is going to be a course on how to actually get your own personal truth out there in the appropriate way, in the most productive way, and in ways that people will actually understand it and receive it well. So in this way, you can pretty much create everything, not only a business. So after we have already established that, the importance of the alignment with your truth, with your core essence, I'm going to give you some practical tips, because it is about truth, but it is also about practicality, and it is also about creating a habit, because the better you become with your instruments, and by the instruments I mean instruments like your voice, the better you will express yourself, the easier you will express your truth. So both things are important. First, it's important to align with your truth, with your core essence that we spoke about in the very first lecture. This is why I started with that. And the second thing that is important is to master your tools, and such as your voice, the tonality of your voice, etc. And do it on a habit level. Do it on a level that's going to be consistency. Don't just do it once for a meeting or for a conference or for a speech. Do it as a day-to-day experience. Try to get better with every single day. So master all the tools that you can use. Tools like your voice, tools like body language, tools like facial expressions, everything. And that's just as important as aligning what you communicate with your truth. And why is it important to master those things? Well, if this is something that you can literally use for good, if you have valuable messages to communicate and to get out there, why wouldn't you master those tools? If that's going to actually, let's say there is this wall, and you remove this wall by mastering your voice and the tonality of your voice, and the way that you're using your voice, and the quality of your verbal speech. Why wouldn't you work on developing that? Why wouldn't you master it, So this is why it is very important. But if you just master it and you're not aligned with your personal truth, then what is happening is people experience it as something empty, as something on the surface. Yes, you have mastered it, but it is not getting anything out there. It's just a performance. And I'm not a fan of performance, at least not performance on its own, because yes, there is an aspect of this that is performance, but also when it is performance that is aligned, when it is expression of you and your truth, it is different. Okay? So there is a moment that we need to polish the way we speak, the way we word our speech, the way we phrase our speech, the words that we use. Are we using the appropriate words with the meaning that's in accordance to what we want to say? Do we have good vocabulary? But in addition to this, we can also master our voice and the way we use our voice, because our voice has impact It is with certain vibration, with certain resonance, right? So we need to master this as well. So those are the two components when we talk about verbal speech. Align whatever you say with your truth. It needs to come from your core essence. It needs to actually be aligned with who you are, because otherwise you're just gonna say it and it's gonna be left out there. People are not gonna accept it because they're not gonna feel that meaning, or they're not gonna believe it. And the next thing is, as much as you can, master your instruments, such as your voice, the tonality of your voice, your vocabulary, your body language, the positioning of your body. It's good to be straight, because when you stay straight, your voice comes out easily. And master the way that your voice comes out, as well as your breathing, and also try to emphasize on the parts of the speech that are important. But all of that, if it is not in accordance with your own truth, it is not going to be well accepted. Okay? So now let's talk about the writing and the written speech, because when we talk about writing, we don't have voice, we don't have facial expressions, we only have the meaning of the words and the phrases that we're using. But also the person on the other side can definitely feel the energy of what we have written. Imagine a handwritten letter. Imagine receiving a handwritten letter on a piece of paper with that beautiful handwriting. And now imagine something that is taped on a keyboard, something like a document or an email or something like that. Imagine both of those things and feel the energy. Now, I'm not telling you to suddenly start writing handwritten letters for everything, because we have a lot of tools today, like emails and social media, etc. We have a lot of electronic devices that we can tape on, and then we have all kinds of communication tools in order to exchange text, right? However, what I want you to feel right now is the difference in the energy. The handwritten letter and the email and the written document carry different energy. When you feel that, you're going to understand that there's difference between the different ways that you are sending the communication, because there is different feeling. Let's say you send over an email, and again, let's say we're talking about business. You sent over an official email. That is going to be different rather than just informal communication on social media, because it is a lot more casual, right? So when it is about business, you want to communicate something that is more serious, that is more important. It is important to use the email. It carries different vibe. It is more heavy. It's heavier when there is an email, and it is more formal, right? And when you speak on social media, there is value in this communication too, and you definitely can use it for business, but it is a lot more informal. So you can use that in order to somehow build trust in a way that you get a little closer to the other person. And not in inappropriate ways, but it is definitely different, because social media is more casual, more about like talking between friends, right? Even though you're not gonna be necessarily friends, but it is different types of communication. So have that in mind and select the tool that you're going to use to send the text, but also have in mind that you need to mind the phrasing that you're using. There are some cultures that prefer shorter sentences, and there's other cultures that prefer longer emails, longer text. They will actually get insulted if you write something and it's too short. So have this in mind, and whatever you put in writing, it is something that can be, you can read through it over and over again, so you can find new details. You can sit and concentrate a little more when it's written, so you can definitely use the writing for something that is more formal. So have this in mind, the type of communication that you need, and also what kind of tool you're going to use, as well as the culture of that other person, what they will accept more easily, what is going to be more appropriate for them. But mostly still try to be genuine in your communication always, because very often it's exactly the genuine expression of yourself that can win over the other person. Okay, so this is for today's lecture. Thank you very much. Please write in the comments if this was helpful for you, and I'm going to continue the course, so you're welcome to watch.